From Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world, I'm David Gabbry, and this is the Vegas Faces Podcast, where we talk with Las Vegas locals about what it's really like to live in the City of Lights. Whether you're living in Vegas, moving to Vegas, or just visiting Vegas and looking for new adventures, together let's discover the hidden gems that make Sin City the most visited place on earth. Everybody, welcome to Vegas Faces. I'm David Gabbry. Thank you for tuning in. I'm really excited about today's episode. I've got my good friend Timmy here from Chicago. He now lives in Vegas. We knew each other when we were doing comedy in Chicago. We go way, way back. I literally just find out like a month ago that Timmy lives here. He's been living here for the past few years, and we're like, let's catch up like comics would catch up on a podcast for everyone to listen to so we can get that attention. Without further ado, I'd really like to give a warm welcome to Timmy Witzel. What's up, Timmy? So good to see you. So good to catch up with you. I'm glad that we get to finally hang.
Yeah, I'm glad you finally turned on the equipment because we've been talking for an hour and a half outside. And I was like, we're not recording, right? We need to get going at some point because I'm getting through all of the... Thankfully, we didn't get any of the gory details of my life so far.
But we will.
We haven't gotten into the dirty shit yet.
But yeah, you're the only one that I've podcasted with at like 6 in the morning. You know, I've got two
when
kids.
You recommended it, I was like, dude, yeah, I'm a total morning person, which is bizarre because when you and I knew each other last time, neither one of us were those people.
Yeah, if we were up up at 6, it's because we've been out all night.
Right.
Like we saw the sunrise, and now we're setting alarms or just waking up naturally. 5, 6 in the morning.
We see people jogging and be like, oh, what's wrong with these people?
Yeah. Now I'm like, I want to be one of those people.
You want to go for a hike? There are so many bunny rabbits on the trail. Let's go look at the bunny rabbits on the trail.
Seriously, man.
It's so true. Different. We got older, man. We got older and wiser.
Yeah, we did.
In different ways. You got married and had children. I went down a horrible
and we're
hole.
Laughing as you say
yes,
that.
Yes.
Which only I feel like comics can do that.
Yeah.
Anyone else is like too serious, but the fact that you can like laugh about it and now you feel comfortable enough to even talk about it.
Yeah.
I know everyone's going to be wondering like, what has Timmy been up to? Where did he even go?
Yeah.
Do people even know that you are in Vegas? Like Chicago people?
Yes.
People from Maine. You're from Maine originally, right?
From Maine originally. And I did comedy in Maine for like 1 year, moved to Chicago. And 15 years almost in Chicago. Met guys like you, met a lot of people. How many friends did we have in Chicago?
Oh my God. Yeah.
How many people do you know in Chicago now? Hundreds.
Yeah, easily.
Hundreds and hundreds. And yeah, I disappeared off the face of the earth probably like 12 or 13 years in. And yeah, I don't even know how to start the story. So
where do we begin?
Well,
let's just start classic. How we got to Vegas.
Yeah, I got to Vegas. Well, that's just it.
Yeah, get in there.
What brought me to Vegas was a downturn in my life that I wouldn't wish upon anybody. I went from really, really high on comedy, really, really big high on comedy. I had kind of peaked. 2014, I think, is when I recorded my album. And that was when I really started getting my groove. And it was awesome for me because I was like I started comedy really late and I moved to Chicago where everybody's awesome at comedy. Like the shitty comics at the open mics are amazingly funny.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
it's a high bar.
Yeah. At the bare minimum, they're comic and you're like, that guy's amazing. He'll never be on TV, but he's amazing. You know what I mean? Yeah, he'll never amount to anything, but I love him. And like, there were times when people were like when the Just for Laughs festival auditions were happening and some of my compatriots, you know, my friends in comedy were getting through and I wasn't. Like, I was posting things like, man, I couldn't be prouder to be part of all this. Like, to be rubbing elbows with these people that are doing this. Like, when I moved to Chicago, I was only 2 years in, and it was this guy, Mike Joyce, who had a show in a basement bar show. And he called me that afternoon and said, hey, I'm hosting. I got a feature and a headliner, but I don't have an opening act. Can you come and do 10 minutes? And I said, yeah. Mike Joyce hosted. I did 10 minutes. John Mulaney did 20 and TJ Miller did 45. Like, I was nobody. And I was like, that's John Mulaney and TJ Miller in a bar show. This is fucking awesome. So like, I think I was enamored with the whole experience and didn't really expect much out of it ever.
And that was kind of the norm in Chicago. Like you'd see Hannibal Buress.
Yep.
You'd just stop by Kyle Kinane.
Yeah. Pop into shows. And I really felt like I was just kind of living it for the life, man. Like it was awesome to be part of it. And I was rubbing elbows and I was getting the nod from some of the local comics that I really thought like I got booked.
Just such a good feeling.
Comedians You Should Know booked me like 7 times. Yeah. And like Marty DeRosa goes, you know, no one's ever come here 7 times and and killed 7 times.
Wow.
He's like, you killed every time you've been here. And I'm like, I love you, dude. Thank you so much. Like, that was peak for me. I was done. I felt like I had done everything I wanted to do with it. And I wasn't a brilliant writer. I don't have a ton of staunch political views that I can dive into. I have to wait for myself to make mistakes so I can write about it and then share that mistake. That's how my comedy was always driven. How bad was my life going, or how good was it going, or what did I goof up this time? Or Timmy, you know, what a knucklehead, you know.
Well, they always would say that the cliche quote was like, if your life gets good, then you get less funny.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah. And I don't really believe that that's true, but for some people, like, that's where everything I ever wrote was derived from. Yeah. So I moved to Chicago, met guys like you, did comedy. And I, like I said, I got to that point where I recorded an album in 2014, 2015, 16. I got really lucky and auditioned for something I didn't even know what I was auditioning for. And I got to open up for Christopher Titus, doing those few shows in the Midwest, big theaters, 1,500, 2,000 seat theaters sold out. This guy sold them out. So those are the biggest shows I ever did. After that, I didn't really know where I was going to do. I was like, okay, if this turns into something and he likes me and asks me to go on tour or something, am I going to do that? And my answer was a resounding no. I'm like, I had bought a condo, I was married, I had 2 dogs, I had a sales job, and I had the theater, but then it just went down so fast. It's kind of hard to...
What do you think like sparked it? What do you think was the first initial spiral? And
so basically, to give the listeners an idea, I went from being married, condo, my mother was getting elderly, but she was healthy, and I was taking care of her at my home. And I had a pretty substantial investment in a theater that was on the rise. I was kind of peaking in comedy in general and doing well there. I had gotten a sizable payout on some stock options that I had with Grubhub.com. I cashed out $130,000 worth of stocks on a Tuesday and went and bought a car and paid. Bad. Yeah, nice little Tuesday. And I had gotten all the way up to there. Everything was firing.
And you had front teeth, Timmy.
I had front teeth, and I went from all that to, I mean, right down to it. I lost everything. The theater burned to the ground. My wife left me shortly thereafter. There were a lot of reasons for that we don't have time to talk about. But
self-sabotage.
Yeah, it was, there was a lot of problems between us because of us trying to be partners in business with the theater, her putting up with my being a stand-up comedian and living that life all the time, and a lot of things.
Was drinking in the picture then?
Yeah, drinking was in the picture. Jessica really wanted me to quit drinking, and I never really saw it as a major problem because it went hand in hand with comedy in my life.
It's how you got paid.
You went out and you did shows at 2 or 3 bars a night, and you went, and everybody there is, comics are either straight edge or they're animals.
Yeah.
They're either the worst animal you've ever met in your life, and they just want to do drugs and they want to drink and they want to be nuts, or they're the sweetest little sweetheart you ever met and they can't wait to go home and pet their puppy and kiss their daughter goodnight. Like,
and sometimes those animals are the ones that are booking shows. So you want to drink and party with them. Absolutely. So that maybe, hey, I can get on the show sometime.
Yeah. And we've all got our own personality and prowess, and we're all our own men, goddammit. But you fall into that stuff.
Like, how wild is that? No other job where where like, oh, if I stay up till 4 a.m. and just rage.
It'll probably pay off. Yeah. This is going to pay off.
Pay off.
No other. Yeah. I'm going to reap the rewards of a nosebleed and a massive headache. Yeah.
And my wife leaving me.
Yeah, it's going to be great. There's no way this is going to go poorly. And
so that was the first
I hung out.
domino.
And some of the people that I hung out with at certain points in my career, without naming names, but there were a handful of guys that were just go. Yeah. Let's go do 7 open mics tonight.
Oh, I was that guy.
Let's get in the car and let's get 3 parking tickets.
Yeah.
Because you're in the city. Let's go get 3 parking tickets. Let's drink and drive the entire time. But anyway, so the theater burned down. That was the biggest thing. And I don't know if you know what happened with this. So short version for your listeners, I had invested about $20,000 into that theater cash when it was floundering. So I decided after I got my Grubhub money that I paid off all my debt, and I paid off all my debt. I paid off all my wife's debt, and I bought a car for cash, bought a Scion TC or something brand new cash. And the funny thing is the money hit my account when I was at the car dealership. And so I was like, all of a sudden I was like, let's talk about a cash price. where's the cash price on this car? And the guy's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm just thinking cash price. Like 120 grand is like so much money. It is and it isn't. Like it isn't
Right.
once.
It is and it isn't.
It
You're
is.
right.
It is on a coin flip, which is what it felt like. It felt like I was flipping a coin and all of a sudden I got 120
In a
grand.
poker game, that's not a bad night.
Nice pull. Yeah. Nice pull. So anyway, did all that, put the investment in the theater. Now, I don't know if you know what happened exactly with the theater.
I mean, I for sure remember it burning to the ground.
Burning to the ground.
Why or how? And
so there was an electrical fire behind an ice machine that had been recently installed by a non-professional electrician from the neighborhood. And there was an electrical fire that had started behind that at like 3 a.m. on a Sunday. The bar next door and everything was closed and all the other businesses were closed. And at like 7 a.m., I got a phone call and from the bartender next door who was going to open up the bar. And he's like, Timmy, the fucking theater's on fire. Timmy, the theater's torched. And it was gone by the time I drove there. 15 minutes away I lived and it was gone by the time I got there. So on top of the ice machine were the first 2 cases of liquor because we just got our liquor license.
oh no,
We had spent all that time getting our liquor license. We spent like $5 grand or $6 grand or something to get it and a ton of paperwork. It took forever, background checks and everything. It takes forever to get a liquor license in Chicago. So we get the liquor license, the 2 cases of rum on top of the ice machine. I mean, 24 Molotov cocktails, dude.
Wow.
And what was above that, if you recall? The bird's nest. All the electronic equipment.
all the camera
Equipment, lighting, boards, everything is up there. Boom. Everything shot to hell. We lost everything. Now, did we have insurance on this place? Yes. Were we issued a policy that was incorrect and borderline fraudulent? Absolutely. The insurance that we had that we'd been paying, we always paid our bills, but we never had any money there, by the way. Never. Every time we paid a comedian, a headliner, $40, 99% of the time it was out of pocket. I would pay that person out of pocket every week.
It's hard to make money in comedy, not just as a performer, but also as a club owner, because really you're only operating Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, maybe Sunday night.
And then in those early weeknights, we did random things like open mics, or we even tried karaoke, in the space. Like,
and you
whenever.
ran like classes, right?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah,
summer camp for kids type of, theater classes. Like
there was a
you've
training
got this
center.
commercial space. How do you make money off of this space that is utilized at night?
We had actually gotten a 501c3 nonprofit for the kids training side of things, so we could take that money and not get taxed on it. Like there's a lot of work that went into it.
But also real quick to paint a picture of like how important this place was for comics, like people that were coming from out of town, like you guys had like a room back there that people could crash in, or you had like a little condo down the street.
Yeah, there was a comedy condo that was like an extra apartment in Tony's apartment building that never got rented, and they used to use it as a beauty salon. There was like a local beauty.
Right.
Yeah, there were like sinks in there to wash your hair, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, they'll do your
go
hair.
sleep. Some of the comics sometimes would wash each other's hair as a joke because there was like a sink there.
Yeah, like the amount of like out of town comedians that came through there that we got to meet because of this place.
Yep.
And it was like this little mecca that was in the city, but not in the city.
Yep.
It was like in the burbs, but not in the burbs. It was just the perfect area.
And Tony's ability to be able to put them up was huge for a lot of them, because they're like, okay, they're only paying me $50 a show because it's a tiny theater and they're only going to put 20 butts in the seats, but I got a place to sleep for the night and nice people to hang out with. So with the insurance thing, we got a policy that gave us it was supposed to be $100,000 total loss, $10,000 incidental. You come in and roll your ankle, we get 10 grand to cover medical bills if you rolled your ankle walking in the door. But if the place burns to the ground, there's 100 grand. Those numbers were inverted.
No. And no one checked that?
No one checked it. I was not a business savvy guy. My partner Tony was. I mean, and he was the president of the Chamber of Commerce for that area.
Damn it, Tony.
Remember? Like, I didn't expect this, and neither did he. And I certainly, I harbored some bad feelings toward Tony for a long time, and now I certainly don't. People make mistakes, and I think he made a big mistake, and he didn't realize what he'd done. But he tried desperately to sue the insurance company for selling us this policy, which clearly makes no sense. Mm-hmm. Nobody in their right minds needs $100,000 incidental and $10,000 loss. I mean, when my personal investment was pushing 30 grand by the time it burned down.
Yeah.
Just me. Never mind all of Tony's money and Tony's sweat equity and everything involved.
But also, like, when you're filling out these mountains of paperwork, no one's ever like, in case this place burns. Yeah. Just sign it. Just sign it and get on with the paperwork.
And it was like a local place too that, Tony knew them. It was like we did everything in that neighborhood.
Yep.
If we needed donuts catered, there's no way it was coming from the Dunkin' Donuts in the next neighborhood or whatever. It was going to be the one next door.
You had everything you needed right there.
Everything we needed was right there. So we did everything there, including probably the electrician that plugged that hooked up that ice machine that burst into flames on its own.
Man.
Yeah.
So that was like the first domino to fall. And
Yeah.
that happened before or after the divorce? So the divorce came after.
Divorce came after
But that was like the first
when that
trickle of spiral downward.
When that happened, like there were a lot of fights. You know, there were a lot of arguments between my wife and I. There were a lot of arguments between Tony and I, and Tony and Jess and I. Like we were, my ex-wife Jessica, we would, you know, the three of us would be arguing all the time about what are we doing, what's happening. And then I started feeling really shut out by Tony. Tony was kind of like seemingly like still trying to run comedy shows under the theater's name and umbrella, yet the place had burned to the ground and I had a lot of money still owed to me. To this day, I've never gotten any of that money back. I could totally use 30 grand right now.
Who couldn't?
It would be great.
Yeah.
I would love 30 grand. But I'm never going to get it. And it's just part of the dominoes. So that happened. Jess and I, that was the beginning of the end for Jess and I. And we had been together for like 8 years. But it was the beginning of the end. A lot of fights, a lot of arguing, a lot of like, what ifs? What are we going to do? Can't believe we wasted all this time and money in this. And now we're going to get nothing and we're screwed. And I was down to like 50 grand or something saved in my money markets and stuff like that. Like I had some stuff in investments and stuff that was doing okay, but I'm like, 50 grand is not a lot. Like 50 grand is not a lot of money.
Isn't that wild? Like for a broke comedian in their 20s, it's like a $10 million.
That's $10 million. Yeah.
But
I felt wealthy.
Anyone else?
I felt wealthy until I really needed that money and I found out how far it went, which is not far.
Not far.
So I'm down to like 50 grand. My wife leaves. We split up and it was torturous. We went through couples therapy. We did everything to try to save it. Started going to AA. I started going to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings with a friend of mine and completely quit drinking, like cold turkey. I never touched a beer because I knew I didn't have a problem with drinking. It was just part of my culture and my life at the time.
Just in your face.
I'm like, I'll get rid of it. It's no big deal. I'll stop. Who cares? It's beer. This is stupid. I'm done. So I quit. And I don't know if you remember, but like I went through that stage where I lost like a ton of weight. When I quit drinking, I went from...
You channeled your obsession into working out and also to fixing the Mazda Miata that you had.
Yeah, I was fixing up a car and like...
Because comedians have like obsessive personalities. Yeah. They obsess over comedy, but then they might also obsess over alcohol and drugs and all the vices.
Yeah.
But then when you cut that out, you're like, oh, maybe I'll get really obsessive with working out.
Yeah, something else. Just channel it somewhere. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did, 100%. Yeah, quit drinking and I stopped going to meetings because I was like, I don't need this. That's not me. I love you guys and I'm really happy that you guys are all getting better here in this room, but I'm going to go do it out in the sun. I'm completely fine. And so I quit and I did not drink I do drink now. I will have beers and stuff with my family, you know, on the weekends and stuff like that, but like I don't drink anymore.
Yeah, no more raging.
I didn't drink for 4.5 years. I didn't have a single drop of alcohol for 4.5 years. And I went from being a guy that was like, dude, I was like 270 pounds at my peak. I was like a 44-inch waist jean. And I'm standing here in front of you now and I'm like 210. I'm wearing a 34-inch jean that are loose on me. Like it's just...
Yeah, you look great now, Timmy. And you've got hair.
And I've got some hair.
You were like, we're going to get you a sponsorship with...
any of them, Keeps or Hims or any of them. That shit works, man.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah, on the show.
Wow. So after Jess leaves, after the club burns, what's like the next thing that, like in this point, are you ever like, oh, things will get better? All right. You know,
with Jess and I or just in general?
Just in general, like looking at yourself inwardly, or you're too in it.
It got worse and worse. So what happened was, you know, Jess left and then I was stuck with the condo and then I had been working at a bar. I quit this bartending job one day, kind of on a whim. I didn't want to work there anymore. I knew I had some money invested. I felt confident I was just going to get something else. And so I quit this job. And then about 4 or 5 months after that, Jess and I had been split up. I had taken on a roommate who was a guy that worked at the restaurant that I had quit from. And that was the beginning of a really bad downturn because I am the type of person that will let people into my world.
Too nice.
I want to help people get through their problems. I want to help. A lot of people who like go out of their way to help other people can't help themselves. I'm not like that. I can help myself. I can take care of myself and I want to take care of myself. But if I see someone struggling, I'm like, man, I want to help this person out. So I did that with 2 different people in my condo, let them move in. One of them actually had his mother move in. She had an elderly mother. So at one point I was living with this guy and his mother was very sweet and very kind. And she was helping pay pay the mortgage and stuff like that. But there was a lot of things that were going on behind my back that I didn't know because I didn't really know this guy.
Like what?
He was a massive heroin addict.
Oh my God.
And
Which is very common in the Midwest.
Very common.
Here in Vegas, I feel like people love uppers. They love the meth. Like that's a huge drug out here. In the Midwest, Mary grew up in Chicago. She, no joke, knows like 20 people that have died from heroin from like the age of, 15 to now.
Yeah. And how sweet is your wife? How sweet.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
Wasn't
think
it ever even in those circles?
You wouldn't think that she would know anybody like that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like that. Those weren't my fucking people. And this guy threw me a curveball. I had no idea.
We also, how many comedians do we know that died from that?
A lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Dan Ronan.
Yeah.
Dave Metz. Dan Ronan. Yep. I mean, that's sad that you and I can come up with two names like that.
Like
quickly.
These people didn't make it past like 25.
Yeah. Yeah. Dave Metz was a fucking young guy too. Dan Ronan. So sad.
Yeah.
But, so this guy is a massive heroin addict. I didn't know this. So the deal is his mother, who I trusted, was paying the mortgage and paying the HOA fees. She had access to it on her computer, her little computer in her room. She'd tick, 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 and she'd pay. Well, unbeknownst to me, her degenerate son, who I'll never speak to again, who I'm assuming is alive still. Oh honestly, he could be dead. I don't know. When I left him, he was a fucking mess. He was terrible. And so he had swindled his mother into thinking that I had said it was okay for him to pay the bills. So he was taking her money and put quotes around it, paying the bills. He didn't pay the bills for 8 months. And I was under every impression that everything was being paid. I never got any notices from anybody until we hit that 8-month point, because they don't really start really reaching out to you till you're at like 6 months.
Depends on the property
management.
I worked in property management.
So and
I'm like,
sometimes
1 month.
1-2 months and they'll reach out. Some of them, it's like a 6-month mark.
Wow.
And so like, I didn't start hearing anything till the 6-month mark. And then he would be like, oh my God, my bad. I'm going to pay it right now. And he would pay like a payment. To keep them at bay. But it turns out I was thousands of dollars behind on my mortgage and my HOA fees. And I had no idea. And so I dipped into my money market, paid big money. You get your own money out early. It costs you money.
By the way, side note, I love that you're like also this like investor.
Yeah.
I love that you have investing.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't a good investor, but I did have a wonderful guy at Edward Jones, just an Edward Jones guy who was a regular at a bartender. It was a place I bartended. He was a regular and he became a really good friend, and he made me money on money every quarter.
Did you like do like day trading type stuff, or you just made investments?
No, I just gave him money for a money market that was the basics, like out of Trading Places, like movie, like
gives you a stock tip, and you're
pork bellies. Pork bellies.
He writes
and
it on
orange
a napkin
juice.
for you, and you're
it was literally like pork bellies, orange juice, things like that, wheat.
Commodities,
corn's in everything.
Wow.
Corn's in this plastic bottle.
Wow.
This plastic bottle has corn in it. Like everything is corn.
Wow.
Yeah, you're corn.
What about like oil futures and stuff like that?
I don't know, whatever. But it was, it was a very manageable, easy thing.
Fascinating.
I just left him. I gave him $50,000 and I said, do what you can. And every quarter he'd be like, you made $3,000. We're going to cash it out and reinvest it. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Wow. And he would cash it out and he'd reinvest it. Now I got $53,000.
Whoa.
And then the next quarter would come. Now I have $56,000. And it's like, okay,
nice.
I can just let that happen till I'm dead. Unless you let a heroin addict move into your house.
Wow. So what, you get evicted, I'm guessing?
So eventually we get evicted. And it was because, and by the way, during this time is when COVID hit. So I couldn't even get a simple job. It was Chicago. All the restaurants closed. My background was restaurant. There was no restaurant jobs. So all I could do was live off that money as long as I could. So I kept it at bay for a fucking year and a half before I was all of a sudden down to $8,000 or $9,000. And now you're looking at a few months of survival. What are we going to do? And I was getting eviction notices from the HOA company and the mortgage company, both, because that's what happens. You end up getting it from both sides.
Oh boy.
So they're coming at me from both directions. And at that point, a lot of other things have happened that I've told you about, but I was in the darkest, deepest depression.
Is that when you got your teeth knocked out?
Dude, yeah. Right around that time is when we were trying to make money. So I let another guy move in who was a friend of a friend who was the jackass that I got into a fight with. This was in a
fight, yeah.
Yeah, it was in a fight. And he moved into my apartment and he was addicted to Xanax. He was a Xanax. He was a pillhead. He would go out and go to Walgreens and come back with his pockets full of stuff that he'd pilfered from Walgreens and his eyes bugging out of his head. And I'm just like looking around me, Dave, going, where are my people? Where are my normal people? What happened to my life? And, you know.
But you never got into the pills or even into the heroin. Like, none of that.
God, no. Like,
but like, you're lucky that in this dark moment of your life that you never turned to that stuff.
I was just fighting these people off, like beating them off with a stick.
Like The Walking Dead.
Just trying to keep them. Absolutely. 100%. Like I would go and like I would take the guy's mother's car and go and try to fill out applications for jobs. And I'd come back and the kitchen's trashed. Like the kitchen's trashed. They've made macaroni,
and they're bringing in probably junky friends.
Yeah, people randomly coming in and out. Yeah. And I'm coming home to randos and going, what am I going to do? Like, and yelling at people and throwing people out in the middle of the day. And my neighbors are start looking at me.
Are you doing comedy still at this point?
No, done. I haven't been on stage in a year plus. And, I got to the point where I started asking some people for money. I was like, is there anybody that can help me? I would send out a message or two on Facebook or call a friend and be like, dude, if I don't have unemployment. I wasn't eligible for unemployment, by the way, because the last job I'd had was technically part-time. I only worked 33 hours a week. So I wasn't eligible in Illinois.
Oh man.
So I
you're
really
really on your own, figure it out.
Nothing. So it got down to the point where I had very little money left and I've got nothing but abusive swindlers all around me.
Now, real fast, because 2020 was a crazy year for the stock market. Were you savvy to that, or were there just too many problems going on to where you weren't paying attention to like Tesla stock?
I wasn't paying attention to anything like that.
Like you could have bought anything.
I was blessed to have, like I said, a few grand left to my name to survive in the next few weeks until we got evicted. But dude, we got evicted at gunpoint, sheriff's department, at the door, bust the door open.
They find drugs?
They found Jimmy, the guy who I lived with. He had drugs and shit. They found him. They found drugs.
They don't try to arrest you
nothing like that. But we are immediately put on the street, out of the building onto the street. And I was just like in tears, just absolutely impossible situation. And I'm like, I'm homeless. I've got no money. I had absolutely nothing. I mean, I had $0 on the day that it happened. I had $0 to my name. And if anything, I owed everybody in the world $40 for getting me by a few days. Like,
so where's like the first place you go?
I went to, so they pushed us out, literally backpack. I had the clothes on my back and a backpack with a phone charger and shit, you know.
Wow.
And that's it. And luckily my cell phone was on a family plan with Dipshit's mother. Dipshit's mother was on a family plan. So I had a cell phone at least.
Wow.
So I started calling people and I called my cousin here in Las Vegas and he was like, what happened? And I'm like, I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm like, dude, I'm sleeping outside right now. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I had gone to a hotel nearby where my dipshit friend who had a friend who had a hotel room, like they lived in it like like an apartment, one of those things, you know, but there wasn't enough room inside for everybody. And it was November.
And you're in Chicago.
I'm in Chicago in November with a backpack and a jacket. I slept on the ground next to an ice machine outside of a hotel for 2 days.
Yeah, wow.
You know, like the big ice machine, just says ice on it, you know? Yeah. I slept outside for 2 nights. And then, I called the guy that first moved into my condo when my wife left. I called him and said, where are you? Because I'm like, if anybody owes me, it's that guy. So you start
thinking of people who owe you money.
Because that guy owed me money, and that guy at the very least owed me a favor because I took him off the streets many years ago. And I'm like, maybe he can help me. Sure enough, he did. And he was not a piece of shit. He was like, listen, I live in...
This is not the heroin addict. This is
this is the first guy that had moved in. He also was kind of a trashy guy. Nice enough guy, but he at least turned himself around and he eventually moved out on his own accord and I didn't have to throw him out or anything, you know? Yeah. So I still had his number and he lived in some weird suburb in Illinois. So I went and stayed with him for like a week. I slept on his couch. I got a ride down there from somebody and I had nothing, man. They took everything I owned, all my furniture and everything was still in that condo. They let me go back for 6 hours to grab some boxes and at least grab personal items like tax documents, family pictures, like the few pictures I have of my mom. Can I have those? Like, are you really just going to make me live on the street? So I got those few things, brought them to the guy's basement. They're still in this guy's basement in the suburbs in Illinois. I got to go get them. It's been a couple of years, but I know I've got 2 boxes of pictures and stuff.
And also what timing too, because when COVID happened, people were then living rent free. Like you might have been in that situation a lot longer, which probably wasn't going to be good for you in the long term.
We got lucky. It was because of that they couldn't evict us right away. So we were lucky. We stayed there for a few months longer than we probably would have been able to.
Wow.
I would have been homeless for longer. But so I went and stayed with this guy for like a week. During that time, my cousin here, who's a construction welding inspector, I grew up with him. He was my brother growing up. He was my big brother. And he was just not having it. And he was like, I'm taking the next 3 days off. I'm flying to Illinois. I'm going to grab a hotel, a rental car. I'm going to grab your ass and I'm going to move you to Vegas. That's it.
Wow.
You're coming to Vegas. We're not even talking about it. I'm coming to get you.
Had you even like been to Vegas before that?
Wow. I never said
so you didn't even know that there's like mountains here?
No,
like,
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was.
Never experienced the dry heat.
No, I'd only seen pictures of where Mike had lived. And when he first moved here, his company had actually put him in like a sort of like a trailer park. A lot of construction guys, I don't know if you know this, because they travel a lot. That's how they live. A lot of them have trailers and trailer parks where you pay $500 a month for a lot fee. And that's it. If you own the trailer unit, you pay your own electric and your water, and you pay $500 a month for a lot fee, and that's where you live. So a lot of these guys, like, they work for big construction companies and shit, and they're like, they're in California for 3 months, and then they're back here for 3 months, and it's like hard for them to maintain a residence.
Yeah.
So they just do that.
It's like being a comic.
They just do that, and they just have tons of cash on them all the time. You ever been at a bar and see like the dirtiest construction worker open his wallet, and there's like $8,000 in 20s in his wallet, he can't even close it? That's how they live. They live cash.
Wow.
You know?
I mean, when we flipped a house here in Vegas, we paid those guys. Like, I'm not a handy person. I don't know how to fix anything. So it's like being a comic that actually makes money.
Yeah. So Mike came to get me, and you know what, I do need to mention when we moved out of the condo, and I was able to put some stuff in storage and some stuff in it. My friend Amy Schultz, who I absolutely need to shout out. Amy has been my sort of on and off girlfriend for a long time. Amy lives in Worth, Illinois, near Alsip, which is where Riddle's Comedy Club was.
I remember.
And Riddle's is where I met her. We became friends, and during the times when Jess and I were apart, Amy and I were kind of an on again, off again thing. We've always been really in love with each other, loved each other, been there for each other. And we always kind of will be, whether or not we end up being together someday. It's so hard. She's got a 16-year-old son, and I live here, and she's got her own problems, and it's just, it's never really been in the cards for us to be together. But like, I've got that bitch's back for the rest of her life. Like, she is one of the best people I've ever known. And she bailed me out. Like, she came with her little Honda, and we packed up as much stuff as we could in her little Honda and moved it to the basement of this other guy's house, and it's still there. And so I mean, we're those friends now where it's like, hey, I need $20 for gas because I'm having a weird week. Done. Here's $100. I don't want to talk to you. Don't even worry about it. Don't even ask. Stupid. So anyway, so Mike came and picked me up, and it literally in the middle of the night showed up to this guy's house. He's like, I'm going to be there like 2 a.m. He goes, I'm not going to wait till morning. I'm just going to come get you. All right. So he pulled up, and I gave my big cousin a hug, and we got into his truck, and we went and stayed one night at a hotel by O'Hare, got a good shower in, and put some clean clothes on my body, and felt like a half a human for the first time in a minute. Wow. And I mean, I hadn't probably really even bathed in like 2 weeks.
Oh man.
And it was really bad. And yeah, I had already lost my teeth. And that's
what was it?
So the short version of that, which I told you.
How does one get their teeth knocked out?
I told you the long story. So the short version is there was a big problem at the apartment.
Okay.
And one of the guys that had been kind of coming and going was a major problem. He was the guy that was addicted to Xanax.
Oh man. Okay.
And he was awful. And anyway, long story short, him and I ended up getting into a really bad altercation that both of us ended up getting injured from. I got one tooth in my front of my mouth knocked clean out, and the one next to it split in half the long way up and down.
Oh man.
Like, I remember going puh, puh, and spitting that half a tooth out. And from there, after I lost those, because it wasn't much longer after that other tooth fell out.
Oh, man.
So I was like, okay, I'm down these 2 teeth. And the fight had loosened up lower teeth as well. So I just kept playing with my tongue. Eventually I lost a bottom tooth and I was like, God damn it. And then, I mean, dude, you're talking to a guy that used to have just about everything and now is homeless and fucking toothless. What is going on? Deep, dark depression, more than like prior to Mike coming to get me, by the way, because I had lost my teeth like a year and a half prior. So I think I went about a year and a half where I stayed in bed for 3 to 5 days at a time, did not shower for 3 to 5 days at a time. Sure as shit didn't brush my teeth.
Yeah.
Just laying in bed wondering when the cops are going to come and throw me out. When is this going to come to an end? Suicidal thoughts, 100%. Thought about walking down to the bridge over 95.
Oh, man.
100%. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know what's happened in my life, but it's all gone and enough is enough. So I ended up exacerbating the tooth problem with periodontal disease, which is why we're doing this podcast this week, because next week I'm getting teeth.
Yay, Timmy. Hold on.
Yay. Thanks, everybody. No, I appreciate it. And
wait, so
nice
like
people here.
When you first arrived to Vegas, is it like immediately turned around? Like, did it take a while for you to get out of this funk? Like, what are you now doing when you first moved to Vegas? And what are you noticing? Differences? What did you like?
Dude, it took me a good question. It took me a while, man. Like at first, I didn't have a job for the first 2 months. For the first 2 months, I was dog sitting for my cousin. He had 2 big dogs and he was working 60 hours a week. He didn't have time. So I took care of his dogs. I cleaned his apartment. I moved, by the way, he was just living with his son in a 2-bedroom apartment. And he put a single bed in the corner of his bedroom for me. So him and I bunked together, like old school, like we were camping for like a while. We lived in that 2-bedroom for like a year.
Wow.
And I just kept the house clean, cooked dinner, he would come home and 100%, I would have the table made and I would have steak and vegetables and I cooked and I took care of the dogs and I kept the house clean. And that was my contribution to living there for the time being. And eventually I got a job at a pizza place, California chain. There's only one here in Vegas called Pizza Guys. And Pizza Guys was good to me, man. That was a good job. It was right next to my house. I got a car eventually and started doing pizza delivery. So I worked my way into like a management role, like a shift manager kind of thing, where I was making like $12.75 an hour plus tips. Ooh. Sometimes I was making upwards of $15 an hour, and I was like, but I had no money. This was like massive for me. So I took that job and I worked there I worked at Pizza Guys for almost 2 years.
I want to say I played poker with that guy that owns the Pizza Guys. Like California, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember he was passing out his business card. Like he was just there to network.
Yeah.
Shitty poker player.
David.
But like that's his advertising money.
I bet his name was David. It was either David.
It was during the World Series. So people from all over, the country and the world are coming to town. Yeah.
David Chang or David Wynn. There were 2 Daves and they're I think they were cousins. I think they might have been related. Wow. And they're big in the pizza
So before you get into construction, your pizza delivery.
I'm going to get back into like restaurant type work. I don't know what.
And this is the best time to do it. Hospitality.
And I almost joined the hospitality union at one point.
But this is like during COVID, after COVID?
This is after COVID. Like when I got feet on the ground here, people were still wearing masks like at 7-Eleven. And then as I lived here over the next year, that completely phased out.
Like what? Like I know you're in construction, but like you're a welder, you're a concrete guy. Like I've seen you post photos on Facebook about all the projects. Like what exactly is like your skill set?
Yeah.
And what do you do?
So my cousin didn't want to introduce me to this industry right away. He wanted to wait until I was kind of mentally back. And I think when he saw that I was Tim again, like when the day came when he was like, Tim's earning a paycheck, he's paying me rent, he's got a smile on his face every day, the guy's got a tan, he's lost some weight, he's got his attitude back. I'm going to talk to him about this industry. So what I do is I'm in construction inspection. I'm part of I joined the Local 12, which is the operators and engineers union here in Vegas. Similar to the Teamsters union, which is like operators, they all operate heavy equipment. They all have the CDLs. They're all truck drivers, large equipment operators. My union is the same type of thing. It's 98% of the people are those guys that are running the bulldozers and stuff on the side of the road that you hate. All those people that are ruining the traffic on the way home, those are my boys. And those are my people now. I'm on the other side of it. But I'm in the coupled in with that union are the inspectors and surveyor crews. So inspectors, basically what I'm doing is I'm in the apprenticeship program. I go to school every Saturday for 3 months at a time. Like, so we do like semesters, like 3 months straight, every Saturday, 9 hours. And it's a 45-minute drive from where I live. It's a dedicated Saturday, full Saturday, every Saturday for 12 weeks. And then you're off again for another 12 weeks. So right now I'm on school break. I'll go back in September and then I'll be back. So you work full time all week doing your job and then you go to school on Saturdays. So Sunday is dead day.
Yeah.
Like Sunday, you're dead. And at 49 years old, I'm going to be 50 in November, Dave. Like,
wow, Timmy.
It's weird to be doing this much work at this age, but I really like the work. So basically I do soil density testing.
Yeah, I saw that. Like they're building the wall that separates the freeway.
Yeah.
From
So there's like a lot. Basically I have a machine that is it's a nuclear density gauge.
Wow.
And it has a small, tiny bit of a nuclear element in the tip of this rod that goes down into the ground. So basically, like you see the guy on the side of the highway and he's running a steamroller. He's running a big heavy roller steel wheel over the ground and he's compacting it because they're going to put concrete or pavement on that. That needs to be a certain compaction level, 95% of the proctor of the soil sample established by the lab. And so I have that information and I need to make sure that it's compacted to that specification. So whether it be Clark County and Department of Transportation have different sets of parameters. So you have to know all that. And there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of concrete testing. And a lot of people don't know this, but when concrete shows up to a job site, it doesn't just go in the ground and everybody smiles and walks away. There's a lot of tests. It's really, honestly, now that I've been doing it so long, it's kind of remedial. It's not difficult testing. It takes 20 minutes but you test every like 100 yards of concrete.
Sure.
So like,
I mean, when you're building roads, like I see it in real estate.
You got to make sure that it's quality. Yeah. I mean, or the shit's just going to break down in 3 years.
People's lives are on the line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Safety. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's like, I'm basically like a quality. There's basically like each construction company has their own like quality control person. Like they have a quality control manager that makes sure that all these tests are being done. And then there's like Department of Transportation does their thing. And then there's the company that I work for.
Yeah.
So we're sort of like the third line of defense. It's called like quality assurance. So we're just kind of making sure that we're the third level of assurance that the products that are being used are quality, up to snuff, going to be safe. They'll be there for a long time. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to break. It's not going to fail. It's not just that I'm doing. I have to learn in the next 3 years of my apprenticeship. I have 3 certifications now. I'm working on a 4th. So I have my concrete certification, my, it's boring stuff for anybody that's listening. I'm so sorry because it's so gay, but it's, it's so stupid, but it's not. It's a fascinating line of work and I like it because
you go back to that guy you were like, the construction worker with the wads of cash.
Yeah.
It's not like it just happened overnight. Like that guy went through all these certifications too. Like it's not like he's just fixing one thing. Like it does a lot build up to that.
You build up to it. So in 3 years from now, like right now, the journeyman wage for someone like myself that's an inspector, I need to get I think I need to get 5 or 6 more certifications. Everything from like reinforced concrete, fireproofing.
Yeah, that's
there's
cool.
all this random stuff. And I never even knew this shit existed.
Yeah.
And my cousin just introduced me to it. And he was like, if you can get this and this, and if you can join the union and you can pass this test, and then you can get your OSHA 10 certification and then do this, then you can start working and you'll be making like $30 an hour to start. And I'm like, ugh, that sounds like a lot to get to that point.
But it's a skill that you have for the rest of your life.
And dude, it wasn't that hard. Like the time flew by. We talked about like how I've been here 2 years or so. And it's like, I started like the process, I think last May of 22. And by September of 22, I was working. Like, and most people like my cousin was like, dude, you did that in like 5 months. That's great.
You've got that obsessive personality. Like I saw it with the Mazda Miata. Like, so you just channeled it into something that totally changed your life for the better.
Yeah.
Do you ever look back on that? Do you ever miss comedy? Like, is your album still out there?
Yeah, it still exists.
Yeah. What was the name?
It's only on one website. It was the Bandcamp. Remember Bandcamp?
Yeah.
It's a Bandcamp site that'll live forever. It'll always be there. I don't pay for it. It's one of those things you pay for that domain once and it just lives there. It's timmybrochu.bandcamp.com. TimmyBrochu.bandcamp.com.
What was the name of the album?
It was called Xanadu, like the Olivia Newton-John roller skate. Remember the roller skating movie? It was like a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
The reason why I called it that was because I wanted it to be something obscure so it would be memorable. And you can't copyright a single word. Xanadu is not copywritten.
Nice.
So I was like, I could just call it fucking Xanadu and it'll just show up in random people's searches. But of course, I'm real smart thinking, I'm like, how many people honestly Google Xanadu on a daily basis? Fucking 3?
Yeah. Do you spell with a Z
3
or an X?
Globally, it's a Z. I don't know, it's an X. I don't even know. I don't even know.
Like, I would say for me, I don't miss the lifestyle of comedy.
No.
I definitely miss the craft, the idea that like you and me could just say something funny and then go take it on stage that same day and instantly know if it like hits with an audience or if that was just funny because it was between us.
Right. Yeah.
But the late nights, like we were talking about partying with your, boss, bookers, whoever.
Yeah.
None of that. I don't miss any of that.
And
Like,
looking back
I like
on
going
it,
to bed at 9:30.
Yeah.
9 even.
I'm looking back at some of those nights being like, why the hell did I? You do it because you're like you said, you're convinced that this is going to lead to something.
Yeah.
Like these people, this guy's fucking hilarious. He had the best set of the night.
Uh-huh.
He's super funny and he's partying and I'm going to stay up with him for a while and shoot the breeze and rub elbows with him. And I tell you what, man, in 6 months, that's going to get me 5 minutes on the show.
And that part too. I definitely got some genuine friendships out of comedy, but there were also some friendships like that where it's like, oh, this person clearly wants to be my friend because they want something out of it.
Yeah.
Or I was making friends like it's just like accepted that we're all going to be making friends with each other.
Yeah.
But we all want something from each other. And if anything, push comes to shove, I'm definitely choosing myself over you if I have to.
But I love Vegas though. Like, and I know that's what this podcast is about. We haven't really talked about that, but it's funny, like, your city of second chances, like you said. And when I moved here, like, my cousin was like, you're going to be fine here because you don't give a shit about gambling and you don't drink. And like, he's like, and you're just looking for a nice, clean slate.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're going to do great here. And he's right.
Yeah.
I'm doing great here. Like, I love it here. I'm up in the mornings. Tomorrow morning, I got to get up at 3:30 because I need to be at the job site at 4:45, no later.
Ooh,
I need to be there at 4:30 in the morning. And I actually have to be at a concrete plant in the middle of goddamn nowhere. It's a concrete plant, because of course they don't put
there's so much building happening here.
It's constant. There's a lot of work ahead. I mean, the Oakland A's coming here.
So you work on mostly commercial, not like residential, right? Like
right. Yeah. It's all DOT road work, Clark County public works jobs. Yeah. It's all Clark County public works jobs and stuff. And, and we were talking earlier over breakfast. We were talking about how like your ability to talk to people and everything builds up from comedy. Yeah. And it gives you that confidence and everything. Like
a superpower.
Dude, I'll walk up to a Clark County official in a truck that most people would be like intimidated by. I'd be like, what's up, man? Good morning. I'm Timmy.
Right. Yeah.
How's it going, brother?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm here to do some concrete testing. Just trying to figure out exactly where you guys are pouring today. I just want to, and I just want to make sure, hey, brother, man, I'm here to I just want to be in compliance with everything. Ha ha ha. Make it a little fun, make it a little light. And they're like, I like this guy. Fuck yeah, let's get it done.
I know how to get people to like me because that's what I did for 15 years.
And I'm also not a complete jackass. Like, some people like, and they appreciate it. These are all blue collar working dudes that just want to go home to their wives and crack an old Milwaukee and,
And Chicago was a lot like that too. That was, even though it's a big city, it has that like blue collar, hard working town vibe to it.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe New York and LA a little bit more commercial.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Vegas is a small town. Like everything's like within 10, 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
Like how did you like that adjustment as opposed to public transit?
And it's funny because I mentioned my friend Amy. So my friend Amy came out to visit me once last March.
Yeah.
Just before I started getting into this industry. And she came to visit and she noted that, every neighborhood is its own neighborhood here, but they're all kind of cookie cutter.
Yep.
If you think about like the normal, like where you live, Dave, you're in a cute cul-de-sac.
Yep. Cookie cutter.
The cookie cutter. There's a gate.
Sure.
There's a gate at the entrance, protecting the 50 residents in here or whatever. You know what I mean? Keeping them from the other 50 residents across on the other gate. You know what I mean? You gotta have a gate code. It's by the way. And, he neglected to give me a gate code. And, but yeah, you go like, there's that. But dude, there's something to be said for that. Like,
It's a new city. Like Vegas has
yeah.
only been around like not even 100 years.
How old is it? Like where I live, like I'm at Hualapai and Cheyenne by Lone Mountain.
Yeah.
Like how old is that neighborhood really?
Yeah, none of this is
40 years old?
Yeah.
30?
Yeah.
Like it all still looks like it's new construction.
Yeah.
Like even my Walmart grocer is pretty
Right.
friggin' nice.
Whereas like
I'm
Chicago, we lived in buildings that were like 200 years old.
yeah.
You know, like
Absolutely.
in real estate, it's like, ooh, that house is old. It was built in the 90s.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, huh?
Huh?
Like, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a new town. It's used to new builds. We're used to demolishing hotels and
Yeah.
building a brand
Building
new
brand
hotel.
new,
Like
yep.
we just like brand spanking new. That's just
It's
how
all everything's like that here, and you know, and they're like, oh, so what? There's a Jimmy John's on like every corner, and I'm like, yeah, it's terrible. I'm sorry, what is it?
There's
What's the problem?
everything.
What's
Yeah.
the problem with that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a problem with that. Like, you know, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You know, there's a Pizza Hut by my house that I've never seen anybody go into.
Yeah.
But you know, like
They've got Giordano's out here. Have you been to Giordano's?
yeah, and they've got a
But they've got
a
every pizza.
Rosati's.
They've got Chicago
there's
pizza.
a Rosati's by my house.
They've got New York pizza, Chicago pizza, Detroit pizza. They've
Yeah.
got Napoli. I don't know. I'm
I don't know, Napolino Montevideo.
I don't know, man. Neapolitan, maybe? I don't know.
Isn't that
Either
the
way,
ice cream? No, that's the other thing.
like a Klondike bar? Maybe.
even know.
I kind of thought of that
What's
too.
what's the three flavored ice
Either
cream?
way, it's
Neapolitan ice
pizza
cream.
overload here from every
Yeah.
part of everywhere.
Yeah.
They've got it here. Like this town has everything from everywhere.
Yeah. And like you said, you know, like all the neighborhoods are kind of the same,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But like, dude, it's not, I still find it homey. And like, I got a great dog park that I break my little dog to on Saturday morning. She flips the fuck out. She loves it. And like,
Yeah.
And in the morning, like, cause I get up really super early and
Get to see the sunrise.
I get to see the sunrise. And then,
And not because you've been partying all night doing comedy.
Yeah. And how beautiful is it here, like at sunset? Because when it set, because we're over here, the mountain range to our west, where the sun kind of sets behind it and everything. Dude, that is some gorgeous stuff at night, man.
The scenery here is unbeatable.
Come on.
And I find the weather to be unbeatable too. Yeah, it's gonna be hot, but I'll still take that over the 10 months of
I'll
freezing.
drop 6 pounds of water weight. Whoa, big deal.
Yeah, and plus like just the gray cloud effect, the seasonal depression.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that even like made your depression worse with what you were going through. So
Oh yeah.
like I know weather is kind of like, oh, don't talk about the weather, but like it's a big part of people's lives every day.
It changed my life when I moved here. That was one of the first things is when the weather really hit me, and I was like, I went and bought a bathing suit. I went to like Target and bought a bathing suit because we live in one of those resort living kind of apartment complexes, which I kind of dig. By the way, now that I've been living here in one,
got a nice hot tub, you got a pool,
dude,
you can barbecue.
I got three pools.
Nice.
I got 2
That's
barbecues.
amazing.
I got a hot tub.
Yeah.
It's all 20 steps away from my door.
I love that.
And it does kind of have like the vibe of resort living. That's why they call it that. Like you might as well be just at the hotel near Disney somewhere or something. It's got that vibe. The funny thing is that people that have lived here for a long time, they don't really utilize that stuff. Dude, that grill is my grill. That hot tub is my hot tub.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody in that hot tub.
When we first moved here, we lived in an apartment.
Yeah.
And they had a sauna. And I'm like, yeah, I love sauna.
Yeah.
I'm in the sauna while the apartment lady is like giving like a new potential tenant a tour.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, over here's the, whatever meeting room. And here's the sauna.
Yeah.
And she just opens it, goes, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Nobody uses it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, this place is great. Sign a lease.
Seriously.
Yeah, but you're right though. The resort living out here, like it all feeds back to like just the Vegas hospitality.
Yeah.
Everyone's nice. No matter what restaurant you go to, it's like tremendous service.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like I live like my apartment. Like my apartment's nice. It's not extremely modern. Like I have a regular electric stove with the coils. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. But it's clean and it's well managed. But it does the way that I'm living there. I'm living like I'm staying at a resort. I'm not treating it like this is where I'm going to live forever. I'm kind of coming and going.
Yeah.
Like I got artwork on the wall and I keep the place clean and I, play my music and I got a little patio set up and shit, but I don't look at it I don't look at it like the end because it's like resort living.
That's a good way to put it.
It feels like you're just sort of
on vacation.
I'm here. Yeah. I'm on vacation for about a year.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah. But I gotta go to work.
Yeah.
During vacation.
Speaking of which, it's almost 8 a.m. on a Sunday and both of us have appointments. Both of us have things to do. What are we doing with our lives now, Timmy?
I know.
We're responsible adults.
I know.
We've got things to do. So before we wrap it up, you mentioned your album on the Bandcamp website, which I love that. I feel like we need to like revamp that and bring that album back.
It's funny. It's cool. It's got the album cover on it. It's got the original artwork. And the only thing about those things is that the tracks have gaps between them.
Okay.
So you'll have track one, it'll be like the intro, and then it'll be like, oh wait, did it go away? Oh no, it's back.
It doesn't just blend.
And then it doesn't blend. Yeah, it'll play track two.
Like, I forgot to click that feature when you uploaded it or
there
something.
Goes track two. No, we're good. Track two.
God.
Yeah.
And like you're trying, I don't know if you're trying to get back into comedy, but I know you did some mics here and there, whatnot. But to me, if I was to get back into it, I would probably do it like on the producer side of things. Like I don't have it in me to like be out till 3 a.m.
Yeah. I'm thinking not so much producer thing, but like I think I told you too that I was considering doing something wacky like a trivia night, like hosting like a trivia night where I can get on a microphone, riff with randos in a bar or something for fun. And that's something I think that I might delve into after I get a little bit deeper into my career and I'm feeling more comfortable in it. I
have a little bit more expendable time
and real job security for sure. Like, because the industry can go up and down, construction goes up and down. So like, you know, if I get a year and a half under my belt where I've been working 40 hours a week and things are perfect, and I'll be like, okay, I'll take a little time on Tuesday nights and I'll try to do that. Yeah. But comedy, like I still write, like, dude, I still have a notepad in my thing here where I'm still writing random things down like that I see. This is stuff I saw this week on the street or overheard somebody say that might be a bit at some point. Okay. Like I had a really funny recollection of way back in the day I was managing a bar at a bowling alley and there was a big fight that broke out in the bar and one of my bouncers, this guy Vince, got the top of his ear bit off in the fight and the cops like arrested the guy and everything. And Vince got taken away in an ambulance, right? And I was dating a girl at the time, and she's like, well, I don't know what everybody's making such a big deal about Vince's ear. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's awful. And she's like, it'll grow back.
Whoa.
And I'm like, no, it's not going to grow back.
He's not a lizard.
I said to her, I looked at her, I'm like, Vince isn't Swamp Thing.
Yeah,
he's not Swamp Thing. He's a human being. It's not just going to grow back. What on earth? And I wrote that down because I just had a recollection of that story. So I wrote down Swamp Thing, Vince's ear on a piece of paper. Like maybe that'll be a funny story to tell on stage. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe you'll start a mic that like starts at 6 and ends at 8 so we can all go to bed, you know, but it's been awesome to catch up with you.
I don't even think I could commit to that, but
it's a commitment. It's you can't just do comedy and then go back to work. It's like it has to be like your life.
Yeah.
It's an all or none craft. I think. I don't think you can just, we see people like you said, like, oh, I'm a doctor and I'm going to do stand up on a Wednesday or something like that. But to really be in it, especially with our like all or none personalities, like, I don't want to half-ass anything. If I want to do it, like I want to be good at it. I don't want to just be the guy that's like, oh yeah, this is my bowling night. This is my, this is my night out from, whatever. So I don't know.
Dude, let's go bowling.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God. This sounds like so much fun.
Just don't get your ear bit off.
Just go to Red Rocks and go bowling, dude.
Yeah. It's like right down the street.
It's right there, dude.
Yeah, man.
I want to go bowling.
Timmy, this has been super fun. I'm so glad that we finally got to meet up again and catch up. I'm glad we got to get everything out. And I'm glad to see that you're doing well.
Yeah.
Seriously, like all the things that could have happened to you. You really made it to the other side.
Yeah.
Like you really hung on there.
I think the only thing I would say to like people, like listeners, like I definitely feel like I've got something inspirational to share in my life at this point now. And it's like, dude, just don't give up. Like, don't give up on yourself. And you've always got this. I was lucky that I had one family member that was still like, bro, no, I'm saving you right now. Yeah. And Mike Witzel, my cousin, man, he bailed me out. And if it weren't for him, I'm not positive where I'd be. I think I would have come out where I am sitting here with you today, but I don't know.
Man.
Family. Keep that family close. Take care of that brother, that cousin,
Yeah.
Love them.
Wow, Timmy.
Like their Facebook posts. They're lonely. They're lonely. Go like their Facebook posts right now.
Thank you guys. Thanks. This has been my longest episode and I'm happy to have done it with you. So thank you anyone who's still listening at this point. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for subscribing to Vegas Faces on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok under the name Gavri Group. That's Gavri Group. Thanks everybody. See you at the next episode.